The new trials of the week are here, and this week we have some pretty high score potential. The highest score currently sits at around 46,000 points, but that doesn't necessarily make it the best trial to grind. Some of these trials require a ton of preparation, while others can be done with barely any setup at all, and unfortunately two of the best maps for one of the trials aren't even available right now. So today we're ranking all 5 trials from the worst to the best, including the best maps, loadout strategies, and how many points you can realistically get. Coming in at number 5 is open containers within the Spaceport walls. For this trial, the best option is definitely Spaceport Hidden Bunker, mainly because of the additional 10 minutes. Spaceport is a massive map with a huge number of possible loot locations, so those extra 10 minutes are basically essential if you want to push a high score. The amount of spawning lootable containers are a little bit tied to RNG, and there isn't really one fixed route that you have to follow. Instead, you want to prioritize the bigger loot location, especially Tower A6, the 2 trench towers, and the departure and arrival buildings. The downside is you can potentially need up to 5 different keys for this strategy: the warehouse key, the control tower key, the container storage key, and 2 trench tower keys. And unfortunately, these keys can't really be targeted and farmed, which makes the preparation quite annoying and heavily dependent on RNG. Inside the Spaceport wall, every container counts, so make sure you're not wasting time fully looting them. Just start the loot animation and immediately move on. You also want plenty of stims because you are going to be running a lot, and a snap hook and some zip lines can make your movement considerably faster. The current high score is around 33,000 points, which is pretty good, but considering the preparation and the RNG involved, I don't think this is one of the trials I would prioritize this week. Let's take a look at the map real quick. Let's talk about the walls first. Inside the Spaceport walls is considered basically, as the name says, everything inside those walls. The small security towers count as well towards the trial, so make sure to loot those as well. This is basically the area we're talking about. Within this area, you want to loot as many containers as possible. Let's go about the keys you need real quick. The control tower A6 key you need, as the name says, for the control tower. Then you have the keys for container storage. You have 1 key for the warehouse, and you have 2 keys for the trench towers. Now, you can traverse from the one trench tower to the other trench tower with a zip line, but still, if you want to loot the containers, those are inside the towers themselves, so you will need 1 trench tower key for the northern tower and 1 for the southern tower. At number 4, for me, we have Search Husks. This trial actually has very good score potential, with the current high score sitting around 34,000 points. The best maps for this are Spaceport, Electromagnetic Storm, and Dam Battlegrounds on Electromagnetic Storm. Why Electromagnetic Storm? Because Electromagnetic Storm spawns a lot more Husks. Unfortunately though, Embark has been messing around with the map conditions yet again, and neither of the maps are currently available. Based on what happened last week though, they should hopefully return around the weekend. So if they become available, this trial becomes much more interesting and a lot easier to do. All Husk types count for this trial, including Baron, Rocketeer, and Wasp Husks. One really important thing to know is that there is a Wasp Husk next to every hatch. So once you know the locations, you can build a very efficient route around them. There is also a small mechanic that you need to be aware of. If you breach a Husk, sometimes it starts making that electrical crackling sound with sparks coming out. If that happens, back away immediately after the breach. Otherwise, you will get electrocuted, which basically just wastes time. So back away, wait till the electrocution is finished, and then go in and tap into the Husk. This isn't a particularly difficult trial once you know the Husk's location. The biggest problem right now is simply that the maps are not available, and that Spaceport, once it becomes available, is a very large map where you have to traverse a lot. Speaking of that, let's take a look at it. What you want for this trial is a lot of stims, a snap hook, and maybe a wolf pack for potential rocketeers that intervene. Once you spawn into the game, open up your map and check your last extract. In an ideal world, you want to plan your route so that you end your route basically on the last extract. Breach every Husk you find. Remember, as I said, around every hatch there is 1 Husk. Sometimes they are on top, sometimes they are underground, but next to every hatch there is a Wasp Husk. Number 3 is damage Wasps. And this one has some of the highest score potential of the entire week, with around 42,000 points currently possible. The best options are Blue Gate on Locked Gate or Spaceport, once again on Hidden Bunker. Both of them give you additional 10 minutes. Blue Gate being slightly better because of the location that you can do it on the maintenance bunker, where you have a little bit more cover compared to the concrete platform on Spaceport. The Fly Swatter perk is extremely useful here because it allows you to one-shot wasps. The problem is the preparation. Unfortunately, you once again need snitch scanners, and at this point we've already had way too many trials that require farming them. Ideally, you want an inventory full of snitch scanners, a Boletta 4, and 2 to 3 wolf packs. At the beginning of the raid, throw 6 snitch scanners. Those will spawn a total of 12 wasps, and 1 wolf pack can kill all 12 of them. You can then loot the dead wasps for light ammo and use your Boletta with that ammo. After that, you can throw another snitch scanner every 30 seconds, and while you're waiting between spawns, you can pull snitches from around the map to keep yourself productive. The score potential is excellent, but the amount of snitch scanner farming required is what keeps this one from ranking higher for me. At this point, it's getting annoying. It's I think the 3rd week in a row where we had to farm snitch scanners. That being said, let's take a look at the positions where you can do this trial. Alright, so regulars of this channel already know this spot. I would do this trial personally on Blue Gate, on Lock Gate, on top of the maintenance bunker, which is right here. The reason being is you are on top of the hill, you are on top of the building, you are pretty safe if you bring 6 barricades, and you have line of sight to basically every possible snitch spawn on the map, which means in the downtime while you're waiting for your snitch scanners to come off cooldown, you can pull the natural spawn snitches and continue from there. On Spaceport, if you are in friendly lobbies, you can do this at the launch tower. This is very important just to lower the risk of you getting killed. If you are not sure about your lobbies, just choose a position, for example, around the water towers or the service buildings, far away from everything else that is happening, or even from around East Plain warehouses. It's a huge map. You have a lot of space that you can use and utilize where you can hide and throw your bajillion snitch scanner. Coming in at number 2 is damage arc enemies using light impact grenades. This trial currently has the highest score potential of the week with around 46,000 points possible as a solo player. Unfortunately, the strategy for this gets kind of boring because for this you want to play Blue Gate during the Matriarch event. Although technically you can do this on other maps as well, I would suggest Blue Gate because once the Matriarch is dead, you still have the tunnels underground which are pretty close where you can continue doing your trial. For the loadout, you want to bring an equalizer and fill the rest of your inventory with chemicals and plastic parts in a 3:2 ratio. You don't need to bring energy ammo for the equalizer. The weapon comes preloaded when you enter the raid, and you have enough ammo to destroy the corner of the Matriarch. Once you're inside, you can craft light impact grenades and throw them directly at the Matriarch core. The reason you want to bring materials instead of already crafted light impact grenades is simple. You can craft way more grenades out of the materials you bring into the raid than if you would bring just the grenades themselves. If you enter the raid over encumbered, you can simply drop a few stacks somewhere hidden and pick them back up later, or simply ignore it and use your stims and your snap hook to get to the Matriarch. The hardest part is getting inside the Matriarch in the first place, because if you die and don't already have the materials prepared, farming them again can be pretty annoying. So while this has the highest score ceiling, I wouldn't call it the most convenient trial of the week just because of the farming you have to do if you fail. And my number 1 trial this week is Destroy Ticks. This one has a very high theoretical score, and it has one of the best combinations of score potential, preparation, and consistency. Although, we'll talk about consistency a little bit later. The best map is Stella Montes. Night Raid is probably the better option, although you can also do it on normal raids, and if night raids get oversaturated and overfarmed, I would probably really consider doing this on a day raid. For the loadout, I would recommend a Boletta together with a Hole Cracker for the shredders, plus 2 green shields for additional movement speed. Why 2? Just to swap them out if one either gets broken or you need to recharge your shield on the fly. You also want around 20 to 30 adrenaline shots and roughly 3 to 4 stacks of zip lines, so you can rotate between the different spawn locations as quickly as possible. If you know the spawns, have the rotations down, and the tick spawn RNGesus is on your side, solo scores of around 40 to 50,000 are definitely possible. Only downside to this is that, as mentioned before, the tick spawns can be heavily RNG dependent. Sometimes they spawn throughout the entire raid, sometimes they stop spawning, sometimes the numbers of spawn change during the raid. It is a little bit of RNG, so keep that in mind. But as I said, with a little bit of RNG luck, you can get 40 to 50,000 points, and that's exactly why I'm putting this trial at number 1. Compared to some of the other trials this week, you don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of time farming specific items beforehand. Once you know the tick spawns and your rotation, it's mostly about moving efficiently and killing as many as possible. Keep in mind, you want to cycle Seed Vault every 3 to 4 minutes, because that's roughly how long it takes for the ticks to respawn in there if no player is around. So let's take a look at the map and the zipline positions for this. Let's talk about the tick spawns first. You have tick spawns in Seed Vault. You have 3 potential tick spawn locations in Cultural Archives. One is here, and one is back here. You potentially have ticks spawning in Business Center and in Communications, which is the darker room. You potentially have ticks spawning in Lobby on this side of the bridge. If we take a look at the bottom floor, we also have ticks spawning inside the Western Tunnel, which leads from lobby to loading bay. And then back to the top floor, we have 4 potential spawns in medical research. We have 1 in this room up above, 1 in this room up above, 1 in this room back here, and 1 in the lower room underneath this one. So from here, we need to figure out a rotation. In my opinion, and the rotation that most of the people use, is the following. From Seed Vault, you want to hop up to Cultural Archives, check all 3 spawns of Cultural Archives, zip up to Business Center, clear the Business Center towards the lobby. Once you enter the lobby, you can place a zip line from here over to the bridge, clear those ticks, place another zip line from the bridge down into the lobby, and jump down to Lobby Metro. Down in Lobby Metro, you want to clear this tick spawn. You can set up a zipline train from Lobby Metro through the Western Tunnel with roughly 3 ziplines, and then 1 more zipline from the lower loading bay up where the containers are, where you can go to Medical. In Medical, you want to check all 4 of those spawn locations. Make sure to close the doors behind you so the ticks don't run around on the entire map. From here, we go back to loading bay, put yet another zipline across the loading bay. From here through the tunnel, set up another zipline to the upper part of Atrium where you can go into Communications. Here Communications, go back out and drop down. You can set up another zipline from the drop down in Atrium through the tunnel to the zipline where you go back down to Seed Vault. Go back to Seed Vault, clear Seed Vault again, and then just rinse and repeat from there. Once you get a hang of this route, it should take you roughly 3 to 4 minutes to clear all this. So you should be back in time to Seed Vault. Time your runs correctly, and make sure to look at the time once you leave Seed Vault. Also, make sure to close the Seed Vault doors. First of all, to keep the ticks in there. Second of all, so you know if a player comes by, they usually leave the doors open. So this is my personal ranking for this week's trials. If you're looking for the absolute highest score, the Destroyed Tick trial currently takes the crown with around 50k. As per usual, we're doing this trials live on twitch.tv/vanep. After we manage to get a decent score, we upload them to YouTube, so you can check out the full runs on YouTube as well. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. If this trial of the week video was helpful to you, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. It would help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. That being said, I wish you good luck in your trials, and I'll see you topside.